It is April 21, 1918. The most feared pilot on planet Earth is 50 feet off the ground, deep behind enemy lines, chasing a rookie whose guns don't even work. He literally wrote the manual on air combat. And right now, he is breaking his own #1 rule. In about 60 seconds, he will be dead. And for over 100 years, the official story has credited the wrong man. I promise you, every part of this is real. Manfred von Richthofen was born in 1892 into Prussian nobility, which meant his childhood was basically 3 activities: riding horses, hunting things, and being told he was better than everyone. He was extremely good at all 3. So when the war started in 1914, he rode off as a cavalry officer. Lance, saber, glory. There was just one problem. This war had machine guns, barbed wire, and hundreds of miles of trenches. Which meant the cavalry, the most prestigious branch of the German army, was now completely useless. Manfred got shuffled into the army's supply branch. The future deadliest pilot in history spent early 1915 behind the lines, handling logistics. So he wrote a letter to his commanding general. And this letter is real, and it is fantastic. Quote, "I have not gone to war in order to collect cheese and eggs, but for another purpose. That other purpose being, and I am paraphrasing here, the exact opposite of cheese." The army, incredibly, said yes. In May 1915, Richthofen transferred to the flying service. And within months, he would meet the man who would turn him into a legend, right before dying in front of him. In October 1915, Manfred crossed paths with Oswald Berlk, Germany's first great ace and the most famous pilot alive. Manfred asked him, essentially, "How do you shoot them down?" Berlk's answer was basically, "Get close, aim well, don't miss." Revolutionary stuff. Inspired, Manfred trained as a pilot, and crashed on his very first solo flight. Keep that in mind the next time you feel bad about learning something new. But Berlk saw something in him. In 1916 he handpicked Richthofen for his elite new fighter squadron. Berlk had written the Dictator Berlk, the first rulebook of air combat. Attack with the sun behind you. Fire only at close range. Never get lured into a dumb chase. Manfred didn't just learn the rules. He worshipped them. On September 17, 1916, Richthofen scored his first confirmed kill. And then he did something extremely Manfred. He ordered an engraved silver trophy cup from a jeweler in Berlin to commemorate it. 1 cup per kill. Hold that thought, because this jeweler is about to have a very busy year. Then, that October, Berlk died. Not shot down. His wing clipped a friendly plane mid-fight, in a war where fighter pilots were not given parachutes. He was 25 years old. Germany went into mourning, and his student made a quiet decision: if talent could die by accident, then discipline would have to be perfect. A month later, Richthofen proved he was the heir. He fought a long, spiraling duel with Major Leno Hawker, Britain's first fighter ace, a Victoria Cross winner, a man Richthofen himself called the British Berlk. Richthofen won. That made 11. And in January 1917, with a squadron of his own to command, Manfred von Richthofen did the single most metal thing of the entire war. In an age when every pilot desperately tried to be invisible, he painted his plane bright, blazing, unmissable red. This was not camouflage. This was an announcement. I am here. You can all see me. It will not help you. His pilots painted their planes red too. Partly style, partly so their boss wasn't the only giant target in the sky. The British started calling him the Red Baron. The name has now outlived everyone involved. Then came April 1917. The month the British would name Bloody April. Richthofen shot down 22 aircraft in 30 days, 4 of them in a single day. And on the other side of those numbers, new British pilots were arriving at the front with barely any flying hours, and that month, a new pilot's life expectancy was measured in weeks. The Red Baron was the best pilot in a sky full of beginners. Remember the cups? By 1917 he had 60 of them. Then blockaded Germany ran out of silver. The jeweler offered to keep going in cheap substitute metal, and Manfred, a man of standards, simply stopped collecting. The kills continued. The cups did not. By that summer he commanded Jagdgeschwader 1, for squadrons packed into tents and trains, moving up and down the front, every plane painted like candy. The Allies called it the Flying Circus. It was the most dangerous circus on Earth. He was 25, famous, and precisely on schedule to survive the war. Then came July 6, 1917, the day the Red Baron's story secretly ended, 10 months before his death. In a fight with British two-seaters, a bullet grazed Richthofen's skull. Instantly, he couldn't see. Blind, at altitude, in a plane with no parachute. His sight came back just in time to pull out and crash land in a field. He survived. But something was different now. The wound never really healed. Splitting headaches. Nausea after every flight. People around him said he came back changed, quieter, darker, colder. His doctors told him to stop flying. He was back in a cockpit in 19 days. Here's the thing. Germany knew he was worth more alive than any squadron. He was the most famous man in the country after the Kaiser. They begged him to retire and train pilots. He refused, over and over, saying he could not sit safe while every ordinary soldier in the trenches had no choice. Whatever else he was, he meant that. He'd written a cocky autobiography in 1917, because the propaganda office wanted one. Later, privately, he took it back, writing that the book was too insolent, that he wasn't that person anymore. And then this line, "I am in wretched spirits after every aerial combat." The man in the red plane kept flying anyway. By April 1918, his score stood at 80 confirmed victories, the highest of the entire war. Nobody ever beat it. Which brings us back to that morning over the summer, and the question this whole story hangs on. Why did the most disciplined pilot alive break his own rule? That Sunday morning, April 21, 1918, the flying circus collided with camels of the RAF's 209 squadron. In the middle of it, a Canadian named Wilfrid May, on his very first combat patrol, under strict orders to stay out of the fight. His guns jammed. He ran for home. And out of every target in that sky, the Red Baron picked the helpless one. A textbook easy kill. Except this time, when one clean pass didn't finish it, he followed. Down to the deck, across the River Somme, over Australian infantry lines. And an unusual east wind, the exact reverse of the normal weather, was quietly shoving the whole chase deeper and deeper into Allied territory, faster than he could realize. May's squadron mate, and his old school friend from Edmonton, Captain Roy Brown, dove in to save him. He fired one short burst at the red triplane, then had to pull up hard or hit the ground. Remember that burst. The whole mystery hangs on it. Because the chase kept going. Along Morlancourt Ridge, every Australian gun in range opened fire on the lowest, slowest, most famous red aircraft in the world. One bullet hit him. One. It came up through his chest from the low right and tore everything on the way. And somehow, dying, he put the plane down in a field, mostly intact. Australian soldiers reached the cockpit within moments. By some accounts he managed one last word, caput. Manfred von Richthofen was dead at 25. His plane was gone within hours, stripped to the bones by souvenir hunters. The most feared machine of the war ended up as pocket souvenirs. And then the argument started. The Royal Air Force officially credited Roy Brown with killing the Red Baron. One problem. Actually, three problems. Problem 1, geometry. Brown attacked from above, behind, and the left. The bullet that killed Richthofen entered low on the right side of his chest and traveled upward. Those two lines don't meet. Problem 2, timing. After Brown's burst, the Baron kept flying, and chasing, for roughly 2 more minutes. Doctors who have studied the wound agree on the brutal math. A man hit like that has seconds of useful consciousness. Maybe a minute. Not 2. Problem 3, there was a man whose position fits. As the triplane banked over the ridge, its right side swung open to Sergeant Cedric Popkin, an Australian machine gunner firing from the ground. A century of reconstructions, from forensic pathologists to battlefield surveys, keeps landing on him as the most likely shooter. The deadliest fighter pilot of the First World War was almost certainly killed by an infantryman. Brown, to his credit, never once bragged about it, and barely spoke of that day for the rest of his life. So why was he even there to be shot? Part of the answer is that strange east wind, dragging the fight over Allied lines. And part of it may be darker. Modern researchers who study brain-injured pilots point straight at that 1917 head wound, the kind of damage that erodes judgment and locks a hunter onto his prey. Target fixation, in the one man who taught the world never to fixate. The Red Baron didn't just die that morning. First, for 60 seconds, he stopped being the Red Baron. The Australians buried him the next day with full military honours. 6 officers carried his coffin. A firing party saluted him. On one wreath, from his enemies, 6 words, "To our gallant and worthy foe." His enemies knew exactly what they had shot down. If you want more true stories with the footnotes left in, subscribe. And if you think one bullet deciding history is wild, wait until you hear about the shot through the chest pigeon that saved 500 men. That one's already on the channel. See you there.